Hey everyone, this is Aaron Noe with WindConductor. Today's interview is with Cami Tedoldi, Orchestra Director and Music Department Supervisor for Foxboro School District just outside of Boston. In this interview, she tells us how she and her team raised over $165,000 for an international tour. For over a decade, the Foxboro Music Department has hosted the jazz ensemble from the Hale School in Perth, Australia. After numerous invitations to join them in the land down under, Cami and her team took on the quest to take their top ensembles, chamber orchestra, jazz band, and select choir on a tour of Australia. With this goal in mind, she quickly began strategizing a way to help as many students as possible have the opportunity to explore, learn, and perform with their friends at Hale. This interview is to help you in your next goal and the fundraising efforts to accomplish your goals. I hope you enjoy this. The reason I wanted to have this conversation with you is because you guys had an amazing fundraising campaign for this event in particular, this exchange to go over the season. Tell us first how much you guys wound up raising for this tour in total.
So we raised a little over $165,000.
So let me just emphasize that you guys raised $165,000 in the span of what?
We started, I think we assembled our fundraising team June of 2018, and the final number came in approximately February 1st of 2019.
Okay, so
7-8 months.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
When we were talking about that and you told me about it, I was just flabbergasted first and foremost because most high school band directors, we're ecstatic when we have a fundraiser that brings in $8,000, $10,000, and to have a campaign that brings in that much would be huge. And then I started thinking about it. Let's say you didn't even meet that goal. What if you made a half of that or even a quarter of that? We're talking a $40,000 fundraising campaign. And I said, all right, we've got to pick your brain and figure out what you guys did. So tell us a little bit about the whole fundraising campaign and what was successful with it.
Sure. So I will say that there are a few things that I set up front. And first of all, when I had my initial parent meeting, and then I believe one that you had come to, we had a team of parents who were really excited about making this happen. They wanted to make this trip accessible to anyone. They didn't want money to be an issue. They felt like these kids deserved to experience this educational exchange. So that was like the driving force. And I felt very similarly, but knew that it wasn't something I could do on my own. So we needed a team, and we assembled this really great team of parents who just worked tirelessly to fundraise, and it was amazing. And I had set up a few ground rules that I was going to operate by. And one of those was any of the fundraising that we do is going to be spread equally across all the students. We're not going to be doing the so-and-so put in 20 hours so they get X amount of dollars and so-and-so put in 5 hours. We weren't going to do that. This was going to be an all or nothing deal. And I felt like that helped get everybody more involved and, that kind of thing. Secondly, the kids were going to do work. This wasn't just going to be, mom and dad going out and fundraising. We told the kids, I said, you're going to have some skin in the game. Your parents are going to do a lot, but you're also going to be involved. So anything we came up with, we wanted to make sure that the kids were involved and they were a part of the effort, because not only them being a part of it, but also what they can learn and gain from just the process of fundraising was huge in itself. And I'll share some examples of some experiences that our students had, but there are a lot of unique experiences that they had during the fundraising process that they wouldn't have had otherwise if we hadn't involved them. And then lastly, I wanted to make sure that when we fundraise, we did it the right way. We wanted to make sure that we were doing it the way the school department needed us to do the fundraising, and that everything was very transparent and there was nothing hidden. And so kind of going through those three aspects that I think set us up for success to do things well.
Okay.
And then do you want me to talk about?
Yeah, specifically, what were the fund? Was it one particular fundraiser that raised that amount, or was it a series of things? Was it a combination of all things culminating into one thing? Tell us a little bit about the actual, because I know that that's the thing that other directors are going to want to steal from you. Is
Sure.
yeah.
And you should steal,
Yeah.
because we asked and we talked to people who had been involved in nonprofit organizations, and we're like, how do you fundraise? Because look, when you're fundraising like this, you don't have any money. You don't have anything up front to work with. So essentially you're fundraising from nothing, with nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And that takes a lot of creative thought and energy, and that was always our thing. We're not going to be spending money to raise. We just couldn't do it. And when you spend money to fundraise, you're losing money
Yeah.
ultimately. So you want to be able to put as much of the raised funds into your account. So kind of three things that we did. One was this was like on a smaller scale, but we had a lot of students go out into the community and just simply use their talents and play. So
That's awesome.
we do have Gillette Stadium in town, so we had students playing up there around the holidays. We were able to have a performance in one of the hotels there for one of the football games, and we provided music for some of the tailgaters that came in, and they gave students tips, and they earned money that way. We had students.
So you actually basically set up gigs.
Yep.
For your kids.
Yep. And that's, and that's part of that learning process. Like, they're learning to advocate for themselves as professional musicians. So they were out gigging. They took all their tip money that they earned and put that into the pot. And whether it was $50 for, a 2-hour gig, or $300 here, or, it was just a little bit here and there, but, it adds up, and it really makes them feel, they're really contributing. They're part of the process. So we had kids doing that. We also had students, carolers out in the community, because it was around Christmas time. We had people playing graduation parties. We had summer gigs at local ice cream stands. Like, you name it, if they could play, they were there.
Yeah.
And they'd show up with $75 and say, "Mr. Tedoldi, I have 75. Great, thanks, guys." And then, it adds up. So that was
I love that idea, because I'm not. I need to be careful when I say this. Because we've all done the, and I'm not going to name one particular, but you have the product sale. Whatever it is. Where you have the order forms and all that other stuff, and I those things they're great. They bring in funds, and I totally I get it and everything, but they don't really apply to what is happening in the classroom. And that's what I love about this aspect of your fundraising, is that you took the classroom, created a fundraising model that you could actually raise funds. The community loved it, because what community doesn't like to see the kids going out and performing, using their talents and all that other stuff? And when you tell them that, what it's for, they're happy to give, even if it's $5 in the bucket or whatever. It's like you said, it adds up, and there's no overhead. You don't have to worry about a fundraiser that's only giving you 40% of the profits.
Exactly. And that was it. We were like, we want 100% of the profits to go 100% towards us. We don't want to be, like you said, having overhead and shipping those off to companies. And again, it's that full circle learning process. So those were the little things that were going on. We also had a golf tournament in the fall. And the way that we have a country club in town, and that town the country club allowed us to have a golf tournament. And the way that we were able to capture money from that was through sponsorships for holes, and have a company names put on t-shirts. And one of our parents that was like his thing. He loved.
Are you still there?
Yep.
All right, we lost you for a second there.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So
So anyway,
you had a parent that took on something.
yep. So he took on a golf tournament. So we did a charity golf tournament, and that worked out really well for us. And so he did that, and that brought us in. I want to say that one brought us in about $5,000 through the golf.
Great fundraiser.
Which was an awesome fundraiser. Yeah. So that was kind of one of the bigger events that we did.
So backtracking, I don't know if you have these funds offhand. I'm throwing this out at you. You said the golf tournament brought in about 5,000. What, with all the gigging and stuff like that, roughly, what would maybe you have the actual figure? What did the kids bring in, or do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but probably $3,000-4,000.
Okay.
Gigging.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, another really solid fundraiser, right, with no overhead, 100% coming back to the organization. And then, all right. So we're up to about 8,000 now.
Yep. And then I guess I should backtrack through all of this. It was really important for us to set up an online platform where people could donate through like a website. So we purchased a website, domain name, which was very cheap. So I know I said we didn't want to spend money to make money, but the idea is, of course, we did have some fees that we had to cover, but
right. But a web, you can get a web domain for less than $10, and then host a site for very reasonable. You can invest less than $100 a year, to do a real basic cheap site.
Exactly. So we were able to, when we assembled this team of parents, we just basically were like, what are your skills? What do you have? Who can do what? And we had parents who were, familiar with web design. Or they had a son that was in college that was familiar with web design, and he wanted to help out because he was an alumni of the program. And then we had people into graphic designing. We had people who were professional marketers. So they did all the marketing materials for us. We basically just said, what can you do? What's your skill? What do you have? And we had people that were crafty. We had people who were creative. We had people who didn't mind going door to door asking for donations. So basically you just tap into what you have, and you assemble, and you're able to make things happen. So kind of the big fundraiser that ended up helping us kind of get us to that $165,000 number was we had a big gala, which was amazing.
Okay. So tell us about the gala.
Sure. So our gala was an event that we had at, there is a function hall in Foxboro called Lakeview Pavilion, and they were incredibly generous. And we reached out to them and just said, it's a beautiful space, by the way. I don't know if I ever sent you pictures, but gorgeous. And we went in and we called them and said, hey, this is what we're looking to do, and we want to have a fundraiser. We don't really have a lot of money to spend, but can you help us out? And they said, we'd love to help you out, and in fact, we'll donate the entire space to you.
That's awesome. So
so that in itself was incredible. So we were able to.
And with that, sometimes I love the boldness that you had in helping your students, because they could have said no, and you would have maybe found somebody that was able to pay for the hall or something like that, whatever it may have been. But just by simply asking, say, hey, can you help support us? What's the worst they could say?
No.
Yeah.
And we learned that. We and through a lot of conversations with various people who have run their own nonprofits, a lot of the things they kept saying to us was, when we were looking for advice, was like, just ask. all you can do is ask. And there's a lot of really generous businesses. There's a lot of generous people out there who want to help kids, and they want to help kids have unique and exciting opportunities, because they understand that the investment in children is investment in our future. So, we
That's
just
awesome.
kept asking and asking, and we got a lot of no's, but we got a lot of yeses too. So you just keep going
Yeah.
and don't get discouraged by the no's. So the nice thing is we had a date of February 1st, which was a Friday, and that's very much off season for these kind of wedding type venues. So I think that worked out nicely for them. So they donated the venue, and once again, I'm going to go back to the kids need to have skin in the game. Our kids were the entertainment for the night. So in the lobby, we had our chamber orchestra performing during the cocktail hour, and we also had a silent auction. I'll get to all that stuff after
Sure.
to kind of lay out how that went. So they were performing in the lobby, sort of setting the tone. And then once we were able to move into the dinner portion of the event, our jazz band and our jazz choir played music for the rest of the night, and we ended up having dinner, and there was dancing, and it was fantastic. So within the event itself, we had a silent auction set up, and again, we had reached out to hotels, restaurants, people who own their own companies, various music corporations, just anyone, just saying, hey, do you have something you can donate? Do you have something you can donate? And we were able to get really creative, because we might have gotten a $10 gift card to Chipotle, and a McDonald's gift card, and a Dunkin' Donuts gift card, and a Starbucks gift card. And when we were able to lump those into a little basket, and then that in itself turned into a larger item.
Right.
So, you just ask.
Right.
And we talked, the parents were all chatting. We were like, hey, if you go out to dinner this weekend, just grab the manager, tell them what we're doing, and see if they'll give you a gift card. And we would just start showing up with gift cards at meetings. And we'd be like, oh, that goes really, really nicely with this event over here. And even myself, I would find myself walking into, I'd be shopping, and I'd grab a manager and just say, hey, here's what we're doing. And they'd be like, oh, sure. And people were just willing to be so generous with various things, and it got easier to ask, but getting over that initial fear of asking, and again, telling yourself what's the worst they can say.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But you never know unless you ask.
Right.
So
Exactly.
we were
Exactly.
able to lump together a bunch of really great silent auction items, and then we did a live auction during the event, where we were able to sell some of the larger items. Like we ended up having some suite donated to a Celtics game, and a chef cook for you. Some larger
Oh
items
wow.
that
Yeah.
people were really excited about. And then we also used an online donation platform where if you couldn't attend the gala, you were able to tap into those auctions and be a part of it.
So with that, obviously the gala was the immediate region of the Foxboro area. You were inviting all those people.
Yep.
The website is for everybody outside.
Yep.
What did you guys do to let people know? Like, what was the game plan for getting people to come to the website? Because having a website is great, but it's meaningless unless people actually find it on online. So, what did you guys do to tackle that?
We used social media. We used emailing. We tried to just tap into what we had, and just for example, like my own uncle was in Florida at the time, and he had wanted to be at the gala, but he couldn't. But he was really excited about being able to bid on some of the auction items, so he was able to watch and bid
Yeah.
from Florida. So sending out those links to family members and corporations and businesses that might be interested, because we had some really exciting items that we were able to auction off. So people, they get word and they hear about it, and you just keep, again, you're creative, and you just start firing things off. And social media is a great tool.
Yeah.
That share button is a really good tool.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And we just kept share everything, asked everyone to share, and we were able to get the word out.
That's awesome.
And then kind of the big uh, sort of overarching concept that helped us get to that big number was we were able to secure a matching donor.
That's awesome.
And we found a donor, the J.D. Dorenzo Corporation, which is actually a construction company in the area, and the owner is incredibly philanthropic and does a lot for children and education. And he had heard about our endeavor, and he ended up agreeing to match any of our funds raised for the event up to $100,000. So
Wow.
when we got that offer from him, so generous, that was really a driving force for us to really dig and get into seeking out donors and sponsors. And when people hear that their dollar is going to be doubled with
Yeah.
that match, it also it helps them feel like their money is going to be even that much more valuable. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so with the gala, we raised $83,000, and then he matched us. So and that got us to that $165,000.
Wow. That's awesome. That's great. And it, as we're talking, my mind is just thinking, $165,000 is a huge fundraiser for any public school program, regardless of where you are in the U.S. I mean, it is huge, huge, huge. And I'm thinking, even half of that would probably, well, it'd be, it would dwarf all the other budgets of most high school music programs in a lot of ways. I mean, it's just so I love the fact that you were bold. I love the fact that you went out there and asked the community. And you may be in a region of the U.S., maybe somewhere rural or whatever, you may not have one of those big donors that has $100,000 to donate to match. But I would imagine in every community there is that one person. It may not be 100,000, it may be 5,000, it may be 10,000, where they say, I'll give you this, but you're only going to get as much as you can raise. And I love that aspect. So
yeah, and I love it too, because as I said before, like if you're gonna raise, like, you got to do the work. We weren't just like looking for money. The kids, we wanted them to work for it, and we knew our families were going to work for it because they truly believed that this was going to open doors for our kids. And I will say that before the gala happened, we had 20 students enrolled to go, and these were the 20 students who were like, we'll pay the 5,000, or we'll, whatever the fundraise funds are going to be, we'd love to have them, but we know that we're going. And then after we were able to present that final number, we actually were able to add 23 more students to the trip.
that's awesome.
Which was
awesome.
unbelievable. So it just goes to show you what just having those raised funds that was really able to secure this opportunity for that many more students, which to us was the goal. That was the goal. We said we met our goal.
Yeah.
Was to make this accessible for everyone that wanted to go.
That's that's amazing, and it's I really applaud you for it. I mean, it is extra work on any director to kind of do that, go out of the way. But I mean, just that extra effort, you were able to impact twice as many students through this experience that you guys had. And I think that's, when it comes down to, what you do as an educator, that's what it's all about. And that's awesome. All right. So, just kind of, and we need to wrap up here soon, but one of the things that really stood out in the conversation that I kind of pulled out was the parents that you guys had. And I know we're kind of short on time, but could you speak a little bit to maybe fostering positive parent contributions to the organization? Because you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned finding the right parent and matching the talents of that parent with whatever aspect it was in the organization.
That's a loaded question, but I think look, I think Foxborough has a long tradition of having an excellent music program because we have, first of all, we have a school system that is incredibly supportive of the arts and music specifically. Um, we have a deeply dedicated staff, music staff, that is working towards with the sole purpose of providing an excellent music education for all students. And if you stay committed to that, you then have students and parents that are committed to that as well. And this doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a very long time, but it's worth it. And if you can get to that point where everyone's on board, they believe in the product, they believe in what you're doing, they're believing that the community, and they're seeing in their own kids that music education isn't just about the music, that it is life-changing for kids. And we know that because we're music teachers. There's a reason why we do what we do. And parents see that. And I think that culture that I'm talking to you about, that takes a long time to build, takes a lot of energy, and is worth it. That is what helps get those parents on board to support an outstanding program and product.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great place to end our conversation. Cami, thank you so much for joining us today. And is there anything thing that we missed? Anything you'd like to give a little shout out for?
No, I should again shout out and make sure that everybody knows that it wasn't just me doing this, and I hope that you can see through this that it was a group effort, and these parents were amazing that did all of this work, and the staff was on board, and the kids, and it's a team effort to make all this happen. And I would just give any advice to any director maybe considering to do something like this to just go for it, because
Awesome.
I had no idea that this would have been the outcome, and it was. So you never know unless you try.
Awesome. You want to give a quick shout out to your team at Foxborough, the
Yes.
music team?
Yes, we have an amazing music team out there. We have Bobby and Donnie and Kirsten and Jenny and Brian and Aaron, Allie, and Annette. And you
Awesome.
guys are amazing. Thanks for all that you do for our kids every day. I would love to also give a shout out to Matt Light and Susie Light and the whole Light Foundation. They helped mentor us through this process, and you should go check out the Light Foundation. They do a lot of amazing things for kids.
Awesome. So appreciate you joining us today. And thank you to all of you for taking the time to watch the episode today, and hope to bring you more in the future. Little incentives and little tidbits of information that you can steal, take to back to your program and use and help to build that great dream that you have, whatever it may be. Thanks a lot. Wish you guys the very best.
Thank you.